Shocking video capturing the moment a driver of a stolen Ford Bronco tried to escape police in Mississauga yesterday, driving the vehicle on top of a police cruiser. That story in a moment, but first, Toronto police are seeking the public's help after a violent long weekend across the city. It's an all-hands-on-deck approach after almost a dozen shootings reported over the long weekend. Our Sean Leathong is live with the latest. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, it was a particularly violent long weekend this past Labor Day weekend. I'm standing where a shooting on Monday night took the life of a 15-year-old. But beyond the actual shooting itself, in and around this area, many of these stores were open. Many bullets went through windows. It's remarkable nobody else was hurt. And police are saying after this weekend, after seeing this shooting of this 15-year-old boy, they need help.
The memorial for 15-year-old Mario Giddings has grown. More candles, small notes from those who were friends, a small indication of the immense heartbreak caused by gun violence. His aunt and guardian breaking down yesterday morning.
I want justice for him. I want the police, because if there is camera, they have to arrest that person that do that to him, because he didn't deserve to die like that.
The shooting that took place on Monday night was one from a violent weekend, and today, the union representing Toronto police officers is calling for help. In a post on X, they write, "Over the weekend, we experienced 11 shootings, including 3 homicides, and 6 guns were seized. The latest homicide victim was 15 years old. He was targeted and shot multiple times. Our members make arrests and seize firearms, often risking their lives when doing so. They've also been doing more than their part to prevent gun and gang violence in the first place. Can you help us?" This morning, Mayor Olivia Chow saying the focus needs to be on stopping root causes for gun violence.
Police is one part of the solution, but so are education, so are the parks and recreation programs, so are after-school programs, so are education. All of that needs to come together.
Yesterday, Premier Ford called for stricter bail conditions and changes to the criminal code.
You know, you try to do this down in the States, 2 things are going to happen. You're getting caught and you're going to jail for years, or the homeowner is going to shoot you, one of the 2. And I'd rather keep guns out of communities, and I'd rather really support our police that we're putting a lot more money into guns and gangs.
Up here on the screen, you can see the firearms that were seized in one weekend alone in Toronto. And this is not an uncommon thing we see from week to week.
Police pointing to the high number of guns found on city streets as an indicator of an urgent need for action.
This really is an all-hands-on approach when it comes to the Toronto Police Service. The unit commanders at the divisions each and every day are looking at the crime that's happening in their divisions, and they're really focusing their resources on those areas.
I want to stress, though, that we need your help to disrupt this violence. If you see something that doesn't seem right, if you know someone that you believe has a firearm, please call the police.
The question remaining, what will be done?
This morning, Mayor Olivia Chow talking about the heartbreak, how she can't imagine what the family must be dealing with, saying that a 15-year-old should be in school instead of their life ending like this. But as we reported yesterday, this 15-year-old, Mario Giddings, said he was afraid to go to school for fear of what might happen. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. Returning now to our top story, a brazen attempt to evade arrest in Mississauga leading to drama rarely seen. A vehicle driving on top of a police cruiser. Peel Police providing some detail on just what led to the takedown. CTV's John Musselman is live at Westwood Square in Mississauga this afternoon with more on what happened. John.
Well, Michelle, we had a chance to talk to a number of witnesses who were here last night when this happened. They say that 3 cruisers surrounded the drive-thru at the Tim Hortons, but the alleged suspect in that Jeep refused to surrender, and here's what's happened next. This viewer video shows the dramatic police takedown. A stolen Ford Bronco in a Tim Hortons drive-thru tries to escape police by driving over the cruiser that has boxed him in. Peel police officers with weapons drawn can be heard shouting at the suspect. Witness David Porca started recording with his cell phone. He explains what he saw and what happened.
The cop went in through the door, Tim Hortons' door. He must have noticed that the cop was there and he jumped back into his Jeep. And then they had the window, passenger side smashed, and then he was climbing out and they tased him halfway out his stolen truck there. Get out, get out. Get out of the car. We don't want to shoot. If he gets away from them, he's going to do some serious damage to people that were standing around because he wanted to get away.
Peel police confirmed this happened just after 6:30 yesterday evening. They received a call about a suspicious vehicle at the Westwood Mall in Malton. The suspect driving the Bronco, a 25-year-old man, was allegedly wanted in connection with a recent theft in the area. That's when police confirmed the Bronco was in fact stolen and they attempted to box it in. The suspect was taken into custody. Police say no officers or civilians were injured. Now, we have reached out to the Tim Hortons location here at the site for any comment. We can tell you there is damage to the driveway. Some of the bricks have been dislodged just underneath the drive-thru window, and a red pole has been damaged. Again, a lot of the people around here who saw it say they just couldn't believe that this Bronco was driving right over a police car. We'll try to gather more information. We'll have much more on this story tonight on CTV News at 5 and 6. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, John. 3 people have been injured in an overnight house fire in the East End. At around 2 this morning, crews were called to Little Leaf Drive in the Markham and Shepherd area. Toronto Fire says it was fully involved at the semi-attached home when they arrived. Everyone was able to get out of the house on their own, but paramedics say 3 people were taken to hospital with minor injuries. No word on the cause.
Still ahead on CTV News, the highly anticipated announcement. The Bank of Canada cuts its key interest rate for a 3rd consecutive time. We'll have the details coming up a little later in the newscast.
And we have more news in a moment, but first let's take a look outside at the weather. Beautiful conditions today on land or on the water. Lots of sunshine, cool in the morning, but maybe ideal. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Jess.
It's that time of year where you have that kind of cool start and finish, but it's nice and warm in the middle. So you have that sandwich of, like, I guess, nicer weather. We're looking at high pressure, still holding firmly, but we're keeping an eye on that system making its way out of northern Ontario right now, prompting some severe weather watches out there for significant rain, hail, and wind. We're clear for now, but that is going to change as we head in towards the end of the week. But we'll focus on the positive, and that is the sunshine throughout the day. Temperature-wise, we're still holding on in that low 20 range, a hint of a humidex as we head into the afternoon, but overall, it's not bad. A southerly wind that is really light, and that's going to carry us through the rest of our day today. Temperature-wise, it's not bad right now, but we will warm up as we head into the afternoon. Coming up, your full forecast right now. Back to Michelle.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
City Hall is asking the public to weigh in on a new renoviction bylaw. 7 consultation meetings and an online survey will be conducted this month to help city staff draft the new bylaw. Renovictions occur when a landlord evicts a tenant under the pretense that work needs to be done to the home. Often that work does not require tenants to leave their units at all, and they are never offered a chance to move back in. Toronto is looking at putting in better protections for renters by fall of next year. The Transport Minister held a news conference today celebrating milestones reached on the Ontario Line construction project.
However, questions for the minister focused on the Eglinton Crosstown. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live on King Street West with more details. Siobhan.
Well, most of the questions landed in the lap of Metrolinx's president and CEO Phil Verster, facing heat over what in the world is going on with the Eglinton Crosstown. It's billions of dollars over budget and years behind schedule. This was a moment to celebrate for Ontario, marking groundbreaking on 3 separate stations that will eventually serve the Ontario line, here at King and Bathurst, at Queen and Spadina, and also at Moss Park. A few times today, we did hear the head of Metrolinx reference the Eglinton Crosstown. Many lessons being learned attached to that project, and he says occupancy permits have been granted for almost all of the stations and other sites along the way. Remember, though, that he'd promised a 3-month heads up on when that line would eventually open. But now, with just over 3 months left in the year, Verster can't commit to when you will be able to ride that line.
Please, I ask just for to give us an opportunity to complete and take the rest of the risk out of the completion of the certification. Really will be very, very quick to declare when we think we have certainty on a date. I'm not going to speculate on dates because that gets us into a messy place. But I will give you the assurance that when we open, We will operate reliably and we'll operate safely.
The Minister of Transportation was asked about accountability on a project like this that is so far behind schedule and so over budget. He didn't have much to offer, only saying that yes, this project has been frustrating and that lessons have been learned being applied to other transit builds. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. New details are emerging about the effort to fix the Ontario Science Centre's roof before the controversial closure in June.
Recently obtained city records show the building permit application was found to be deficient several times. CTV's John Woodward has the details.
On a back-to-school day, there are no kids at the Ontario Science Centre and haven't been since June 21st, when fences went up the Science Centre's board voting to close the building with only hours' notice on a recommendation from the provincial government.
Nobody was anticipating a closure to come this suddenly, and it really came out of the blue.
Even as the minister highlighted problems with certain roof panels, it turns out the Science Centre had already been working for months on a plan to fix a part of the roof of Building C. Its building permit application was running into some headaches. On June 3rd, a city examiner wrote to Infrastructure Ontario and a roofing contractor saying, "Examination of your building permit application has revealed that certain requirements of the Ontario Building Code and/or other applicable bylaws have not been satisfied," pointing to sections of the Conservation Authorities Act, the Ontario Heritage Act, and the Building Transit Faster Act. On June 7th, the building engineer wrote to the same group, asking to please provide drawing set with architectural or engineer stamps for all drawings. It's not clear whether the agencies responded, and on the day the Science Centre was shut down, city officials said there was no permit granted. On that day, building inspectors wrote that they learned about the sudden closure from a CP24 news alert, and then scrambled to check in on the safety of the building. One inspector rushed to the site at 6 p.m. to see work already finished on the most critical roof panels. He wrote critical areas shored as per engineers' report and no immediate concerns observed based on random sample areas looked at.
Everybody agrees that all the urgent things were done.
Canadian Architecture Magazine's Elsa Lam believes the safety concerns were overblown, perhaps a pretext to shut the building down in favor of a pet project of a new waterfront science centre that won't be built for years.
There was no imminent threat of the roof collapse.
Minister Kinga Surma said Tuesday the government was trying to protect people.
We had to make sure that we prioritize the health and safety of the workers and the children and families that would be coming in and out of the building.
Around 50 staff remain working in parts of the building, packing up exhibits for storage. The expected evacuation date, the end of October. John Woodward, CTV News.
Big changes to alcohol sales in our province are now just a day away.
Starting tomorrow, you'll be able to buy beer, wine, and ready-to-drink cocktails at thousands of convenience stores. Here's more on how retailers and government are getting ready.
So we got some twisted teas here.
The mixed drinks are ready for the floor at Zala's Convenience in downtown Brampton. It's one of more than 4,100 new locations that will start selling booze this week. The idea came from Sivain Balakumar's mom, for whom this place is a passion project.
The last 2 years, we went from nothing to it's so much better now, so she wants to take every opportunity she can to make it even better.
An opportunity for the store's earning potential, but that's not without its challenges.
We have a lot of petty theft, and it comes with obviously convenience area, stuff like that. So then we decided we're actually going to move it here behind the counter. So that's going to be even more work.
To extend a counter or build a new display.
We're really looking forward on Thursday, opening up the 4,000 stores to have convenience for people.
A convenience that cost more than $200 million to break a contract with the beer store more than a year early. And there's a human cost, with doctors warning increased access will exacerbate addictions and lead to more crashes and hospital visits. The premier blows off comparisons to location restrictions placed on supervised drug consumption sites and pot shops.
Last time I checked, the convenience stores don't have needles lying around the front of their stores, and they're well equipped. They've dealt with everything from tobacco to lottery tickets, now beer and wine, and they're going to be very responsible.
Taking on selling booze is a risk for small businesses like this one, around the corner from an LCBO.
You got to be competitive with them being so close. So it might be more of a headache than worth it, but maybe in the long term, I'm going to have my mom's attitude. It'll work out.
As expected, the Bank of Canada cut its key interest rate today for the third consecutive time. The key lending rate is now 4.25%, a cut of a quarter percentage point. The central bank said the decision was based on headline and core inflation continuing to ease as expected and a desire to see economic growth pick up to absorb the slack in the economy. The goal is for inflation to return sustainably to the 2% target. Today's move does signal more cuts ahead.
In the UK, survivors and bereaved relatives are demanding criminal charges be laid against those responsible for the deadly fire at the Grenfell Tower in London. An independent inquiry released its final report today.
The simple truth is that the deaths that occurred were all avoidable, and those who lived in the tower were badly failed over a number of years and in a number of different ways by those who were responsible for ensuring the safety of the building and its occupants.
The 2017 fire killed 72 people. The report details how the failings of government, the construction industry, and firefighters led to the deaths at the high-rise apartment building. It clears the way for law enforcement to complete the criminal investigation. It was put on hold to ensure it didn't impede efforts to uncover the underlying causes. Prime Minister Keir Starmer apologized today and pledged to take action against the companies named in the report. His government will also consider all of the inquiry's 58 recommendations. In Ukraine, 7 people were killed in an attack on the western city of Lviv. The nighttime strike also injured 52 people. Lviv is about 60 kilometers from the border with Poland, a NATO and European Union member. An overnight strike also wounded 5 people in the hometown of President Volodymyr Zelensky. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba resigned today. It followed an announcement last week from Zelensky that a cabinet shuffle was imminent. In Russia, 3 civilians were reportedly killed by Ukrainian shelling in the village of Belgorod. That's at the border region.
The U.S. Justice Department has charged the leader of Hamas and other militants in connection with the deadly October 7th attack in Israel. The criminal complaint filed in federal court includes charges of conspiring to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization, resulting in death. The U.S. Attorney General says the charges are just one part of an effort to target every aspect of Hamas's operations. Merrick Garland said more action will be taken. The impact of the case may be largely symbolic, given that the leader is believed to be hiding out in tunnels.
Pope Francis met with Indonesian clergy and nuns today at a cathedral in Jakarta. Several hundred well-wishers greeted the pontiff as he arrived. He's urged Indonesia to live up to its promise of harmony in diversity and to fight religious intolerance. Earlier, the Pope met with the country's outgoing president and other officials. Indonesia is home to the world's largest Catholic seminary and has long been a major source of priests and nuns for the church. The Pope is beginning the longest and farthest trip of his pontificate. When it's over, he'll have flown more than 32,000 kilometers, also visiting Papua New Guinea, East Timor, and Singapore.
Canada is urging travelers to be cautious about an outbreak of a bug-transmitted disease. Some countries are reporting their first ever cases of oropouche. CTV's Scott Hurst is standing by with the latest on this. First of all, Scott, this, I'm sure, for many people is the first time they're hearing about this. What is this disease?
Michelle, of course, you may not have heard of it. A lot of Canadians haven't, but the Canadian government is updating a health notice about oropouche virus, advising Canadians to be aware of it if they're traveling to some specific locations in Central and South America, as there have been several travel-related cases of OVD reported internationally, the majority of which were in travelers returning from Cuba, a destination, of course, popular with Canadians. It's not a new virus, but this year the number of cases is now higher than expected, and cases are being reported in some areas of Brazil, Bolivia, and in Cuba, where they haven't been before. In June, Cuba reported its first confirmed oropouche case, and according to the WHO, it's been reported in those 3 countries, plus Colombia and Peru. The disease is transmitted through insect bites. Symptoms usually start in about 3 to 8 days, and symptoms can include fever, severe headaches, vomiting, and dizziness. There's no specific treatment for OVD, but medical treatment, Michelle, if needed, could control the symptoms and help recovery.
What should people know if they are indeed traveling to regions that are affected?
Well, this notice ensures that travelers, first and foremost, at least know about it if they're heading to some specific locations in Central and South America. and are being advised to practice specific health precautions, including, and this is the big one right here, doing whatever is necessary to avoid insect bites. Of course, that is extremely difficult, but there are ways, including insect repellent, limiting time outdoors to avoid insect bites as best possible. Proper hand washing and being up to date on all recommended vaccinations, even though there are no vaccines to specifically prevent OVD. Travelers could also consult a healthcare provider or visit a travel clinic, Michelle, before they go. And after your trip, continue to watch out for symptoms.
Now we know. CTV's Scott Hurst, live for us in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Jess.
Well, it's a beautiful start to our day, and we're holding on to, again, high pressure, very stable air mass, so beautiful for spending some time outside. So maybe you want to hit up a happy hour, go to a patio. It's a great afternoon to do so. We do have a bit of a humidex heading into that kind of late afternoon period, so keep that in mind that he can still sneak up on you. Now, coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including a system on the way already prompting some weather alerts in northern Ontario, impacting us to round out the week with the potential of some significant rain. Coming up, your full forecast.
Well, it's another day where we've reached the midweek mark because we have that holiday kind of feel.
Yes.
It's Tuesday, but it's Wednesday, and we have the sun still, which is so nice. And you could tell it was a little bit warmer than it was in the morning yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of things to be happy about, and also being downtown, seeing more people out and about, more people going to school, more people going to work. And the weather's pretty good, too.
Routine, right? Yeah. It's people getting back into the swing of things. I feel like this last weekend was really busy. If you live in the city, you just have people out and about enjoying those kind of end of summer things. We still have lots of summer and summer weather left. And today is one of those days. You have to dress a little differently in the morning. I think, too, for kids, it's like you layer them up in the morning and then you kind of have the different layers in the afternoon because we see that daytime heating take place a little bit later on. But either way, it's still going to be beautiful as we head throughout the afternoon. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. We had a beautiful start to the day, a little haze out there, a bit of a red sky, kind of indicative of some of the active weather that is on the way. But overall, it's going to be really nice outside. And as the sun continued to rise this morning, we saw lots of sunshine out there. And like I mentioned all the time, I'm like, we need that sunshine. It helps everybody, but you got to enjoy it safely, right? Hydration and sun protection is really important. Now, we're still really nice. We're sitting at 22 for the most part right across southern Ontario, but that little bit of cooler air up towards the north, that's where that system is sitting right now, and it's going to push its way towards us. It's invigorated a little bit, so it comes a little earlier in the day on Friday, and then the bulk of it comes overnight. Today, we're still sitting around that seasonal mark of 24. It'll feel like 26 right across the board. We're in that kind of like sweet spot where it's nice to be outside. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's giving, Goldilocks type of forecast. Into the evening, sitting around 15, we're still really close to that seasonal mark right across the board. We're not looking at much in the way of active weather for us today and tomorrow, but there's that system pushing through northern Ontario that will eventually sink its way down. Right now, prompting some severe thunderstorm watches through northern Ontario. That includes winds up to 90 kilometers an hour, the potential of hail. So that system will make its way towards us. We'll see how intense it gets, but regardless, we're still watching for rain. So as we head throughout the rest of our day today, no rain, fantastic. Get outside if you can, touch grass, get some fresh air. As we head in towards the evening, really clear as well. I know a lot of folks are still playing sports in the evenings outside, the kids, the adults. It's great because we're holding on to just that little bit of coolness. As we head in towards our Thursday kind of early evening, we start to see the system push its way a little bit closer. We had overnight Thursday into Friday, very scattered showers in nature, the bulk of it staying up towards those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. We have a relatively sunny start to our day. It's as we head into the kind of midpoint of the afternoon, we watch for the first round of rain, the potential of some embedded thunderstorm activity, a bit of a break into the early evening, and then it returns as we head through the overnight and in towards our Saturday. So there is the potential, because it comes in a few waves, for a significant amount of rain. 20, maybe 30 millimeters, so the potential of localized flooding is very much there. As we head through our day today, through our Thursday, sunny, pretty seasonal. And with the rain, it doesn't cool us down right away, so Friday's still really, really nice. It's not till Saturday that we see things start to cool down. Sunday, it's a little fresh, just 15 degrees. And then we start to slowly warm back up as we head in towards next week. So we will see the system push its way in throughout the day on Thursday. It invigorates overnight. We see heavier amounts of rain into the evening, and then it carries us into our Saturday. As we step through the day Saturday, that's when things start to cool down. The system will push out heading into Sunday. Gets really cool. And then as we head in towards next week, we see a bit of a return. So it's by no means kind of a wash to the end of the week or the weekend, but things are going to be noticeably different. We'll switch gears for a second, and it's your time to win big. The Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation launched its popular fall home lottery today, featuring 16,000 different phenomenal prizes valued at more than $16 million. Imagine winning a stunning $7.4 million grand prize that includes a King City show home and $500,000 cash, plus a gorgeous $2.4 million grand prize with a show home in Georgian Bay, plus $50,000 cash. And the VIP prize includes a 2024 Porsche 718 Boxster and a dream trip to Hawaii, or $100,000 cash. A $1.2 million bonus prize with a stunning luxury downtown Toronto condo, plus season tickets to the Maple Leafs Raptors, Toronto FC, plus $50,000 cash. And let's not forget the world-famous $2.7 million early bird prize with a breathtaking Kawartha Lakefront cottage, plus $50,000 cash. Plus, you can win big with the cash prizes, the 50/50 cash calendar, and the new Wanderlist add-ons. Wanderlist gives 20 winners a chance to visit one of 10 once-in-a-lifetime destinations, from Nectar Island to Japan to Bora Bora. It's only $25 to be in to win. Every ticket helps fund life-saving cancer research at the Princess Margaret. Get your tickets at princessmargaretlotto.com or by calling 1-866-631-1234. Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. A team of students at the University of Waterloo is setting a new standard in Canadian aerospace.
The group designed, built, and launched a first-of-its-kind rocket never made in Canada until now. CTV's Tyler Kelleher reports.
4 M's. Black smoke's observed.
It's a first of its kind in Canada.
3, 2, 1.
A liquid bipropellant rocket capable of breaking the speed of sound, and it was designed right here at the University of Waterloo.
Not like an aerospace company or some kind of government-funded thing, but it's a bunch of like 22-year-olds from Waterloo, Ontario.
The Borealis rocket, designed by the university's student-led rocketry team, is the first liquid-powered design in the country. Superior to solid motor rockets.
Like those model rocket kits you could buy at any of your hobby stores, where you just, light a spark and the rocket will go up and it'll burn. This one is actually being filled with nitrous oxide and ethanol alcohol.
The rocket's maiden launch came August 20th at the Launch Canada Challenge in Timmins, reaching an altitude of 19,212 feet and a top speed of 1,646 kilometers per hour, earning first place in the advanced category.
Seeing that year of really intense hard work all come together and just soar into the sky, it was beautiful.
The team says only a handful of universities across the globe have ever created a rocket of the same design, a testament to the hard work put in and the support offered at UWaterloo you may not find anywhere else.
I've been to conferences where other universities are talking about trying to support their teams in similar ways to what Waterloo does. The space we give them, the support we give them. Students from here have gone off to work at Bombardier and SpaceX.
So to launch our rocket, first you arm and then fire.
Now the team has its sights set on a bigger and better rocket for next year, looking to the future, where the sky is the limit.
The team is interested in going higher and faster.
Tyler Kelleher, CTV News, Waterloo.
Coming up on CTV News at noon, experts respond to the new rules on banning cell phones in Ontario classrooms, saying it won't help with cell phone addiction. We'll have more on that after this short break.
A review of dozens of studies shows there's no connection between cell phones and brain cancer. Researchers with the World Health Organization looked at more than 5,000 studies over a 28-year period. They concluded the radio waves emitted by cell phones do not cause cancer. The research was published in the journal Environment International.
Students are back in class dealing with the new rules regarding cell phone usage.
The province has banned cell phones for the most part, but experts say the move will not have an impact on preventing phone addiction. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan explains.
Being on social media takes away from my sleep because sometimes I'll just be scrolling for hours.
This video shows kids who have taken a free program called Brainables. The pilot program was offered to grades 5 to 8 in Ontario last year, teaching students about brain health.
And what these kids are saying is that they are addicted to their cell phones, but the problem is coming more so at night.
That's why Leah Poslin says the school cell phone ban isn't enough.
These kids have their devices in their rooms. They're not being monitored at night. And they're on their social media. They're chatting with their friends via text.
And she says it takes a toll on their physical and mental health.
Kids at that age need 9 to 11 hours of sleep at night in order to be able to process their emotions properly, be focused at school.
Psychologist Todd Cunningham says it's contributing to academic difficulties.
So individuals who have attention-related difficulties, they actually gravitate to entertainment devices and social media devices because they're getting more of what their brains are actually missing. And so that draws them in more, which makes it actually more addictive.
Studies on cell phone bans at schools have produced mixed results.
What is missing is the education. We have to inform these kids about the harm that excess social media and device addiction has.
And Poslin's hopes programs like Brainables will get funding to provide that training to students and parents. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
More than 1 million students have returned to colleges and universities across Canada this week. And for many of them, paying tuition is hard enough as it is.
A clearer picture is emerging of just how challenging it is to find a safe and affordable place to live. CTV's Heather Wright has more.
Tuition, books, a place to stay. Student budgets are tight and housing is making it harder for many.
Housing is just one of the many things that are like increasing in price. People can't really afford groceries. People can't afford a lot of basics that they need.
Only 1 in 10 students in Canada is able to get a spot in a university or college dorm, according to a new report from Desjardins, which shows Canada is lagging behind other countries when it comes to student accommodation.
When you look at other countries, there's a lot more partnerships between post-secondary institutions and the private sector in providing sort of purpose-built student accommodation.
The study says schools and all levels of government need to work together more effectively to cut red tape, ease zoning rules, and build more housing specifically for students. And while the federal government has capped the number of international student visas it will approve, the study suggests schools are still struggling to keep pace with demand for housing. More than 1 million students rent, leading to stiff competition in rental markets that are already tight.
We're seeing, especially with a lot of international students, a lot of folks are moving into the communities, and rents are that's helping to push rents higher, even if it's not the primary culprit. But we're also seeing that the kind of conditions the students are living in are increasingly detrimental to student outcomes.
More students forced to trade proximity to school and even safety to find an affordable place to live.
The cheaper it is, the more shady it can be sometimes, or it's more unsafe.
And the study says a lack of safe and affordable housing could deter international students from choosing to study in Canada, which could have the unintended consequence of reducing the pool of skilled workers. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Still to come, a look at the implications of the Bank of Canada's cut to interest rates. Those details and the rest of your business headlines after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The Bank of Canada cut interest rates this morning for a third consecutive time.
For a look at the implications, here's BNN Bloomberg's Amber Kanwar.
The Bank of Canada cut interest rates by another 25 basis points, bringing their trend-setting rate to 4.25%. That's the lowest it's been since 2022. Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem signaled that more rate cuts are likely if inflation continues to ease. The rate cuts come as employment and growth indicators have deteriorated. Macklem said in his remarks today that the bank would like to see growth pick up and added that rate cuts would reduce pressures on households. Mortgage interest payments for Canadians have doubled since 2022, reaching a record $25 billion in the first quarter of this year. Bloomberg News is reporting OPEC Plus is discussing a possible delay to an oil output increase planned for October. That's after crude prices fell to their lowest point this year. The report says the group, led by Saudi Arabia and Russia, is reconsidering whether to proceed with the scheduled hike of 180,000 barrels a day as global demand softens and Libya prepares to resume exports. Upscale department store chain Nordstrom has received a takeover offer from the descendants of the founder. The Nordstrom family has offered to buy the company for around $3.7 billion US. John Nordstrom co-founded the retailer back in 1901. Today, his great-grandsons, Eric and Peter Nordstrom, have offered to take the company private again. Their bid in 2018 was rejected. This comes as the retailer has been dealing with slumping sales. The department store exited Canada last year, saying it was never able to make its Canadian operations profitable. That's the latest in business. I'm Amber Canwar of BNN Bloomberg.
As the automotive industry moves towards electric vehicles, there's also a great need to have knowledgeable mechanics to work on them.
Automotive colleges are training students on electric cars, but there is some concern some shops might not be ready for some EV repairs. Here's Pat Foran with a consumer alert.
They call me and say it needs a battery.
Charles Jackal of Orangeville bought a used 2018 Chevy Volt Hybrid 3 years ago. At 161,000 kilometers, it was just outside of warranty when it quit working.
The car right now is a paperweight. It's been sitting at that dealership since December.
Jackal paid $20,000 for the car and was shocked to be told replacing the battery will cost him over $33,000.
I actually felt sick. Because at that point in time, I was bewildered, dumbfounded, I guess, perplexed, really, at that actually that battery could cost that much.
The battery's heavier, but you don't have an engine up front.
True. Chris Muir is an automotive professor at Centennial College. Here he's giving a refresher course to faculty about some of the safety requirements needed when working on electric cars. The college is updating its curriculum to teach mechanics about EV repairs.
There's probably been a bit of a drought of training for electric vehicles, particularly in the aftermarket.
Muir says EVs require a new set of skills for mechanics, and those used to working on combustion engines without proper training could misdiagnose repairs, especially in case of software updates.
If you miss that bulletin for the vehicle software update, you have a chance to spend the customer's money unwisely on something that didn't need to be replaced.
When Jackal contacted us, we reached out to General Motors on his behalf, and a spokesperson said the team is working with the customer to resolve this issue. In the end, Jackal's car did not need a new $33,000 battery. It just required a software update, which GM looked after, and now Jackal's Chevy Volt is back on the road.
I am so glad I contacted you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much, Pat, and your whole team, CTV. Thank you.
It now costs more to shop at Costco, the company raising its membership fees for the first time since 2017. The price of an annual membership increasing from $60 up to $65. The executive membership now costs $130, up from $120. The new fees came into effect on Labor Day and apply to new signups and renewals.
The CNE is famous for its food, and now some of the creations will be going to those less fortunate. Food vendors are donating surplus supplies to Second Harvest. They're hoping to contribute more than 25,000 pounds of food. The CNE says more than 100 vendors are participating in the effort to feed the community as well as reduce food waste.
We asked them if they would be willing to come together, and because at the end of the fair, there's a closeout period, there's lots of potential waste, and we always want to control that waste. Actually, since 2008, our target's always been to be able to at least recycle 90% of the organics, and we've been successful in doing that, but this time we get it to the food banks, which is really important.
The CNE wrapped up yesterday. It's estimated that more than 1 million people visited the exhibition this year. Meanwhile, the Art Gallery of Ontario has received one of the largest private donations in its history. The gift came from the estate of late businessman Philip Lind. It includes 37 works from 24 different artists. The donated works will be on display at the gallery from November until next fall.
In sports, the Blue Jays kicked off a series with the Philadelphia Phillies last night.
Left field deep, and it is gone.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. added to the Jays' lead with a homer in the 6th inning. However, the Phillies rallied, and they took the lead with a homer of their own in the 9th. Philadelphia ended up winning the game 10-8. The teams will wrap up their 2-game series this afternoon. First pitch just after 3. And Toronto's Professional Women's Hockey League team will have a new home this coming season. The club will play at Coca-Cola Coliseum during the 2024-25 campaign. PWHL Toronto hosted 3 playoff games at that arena after spending its first regular season at the Mattamy Athletic Centre. Coca-Cola Coliseum is also the home of the AHL's Toronto Marlies. The PWHL has not yet announced its regular season schedule, but says it will include 30 regular season games per team. The Toronto International Film Festival begins tomorrow, and a downtown street is going to be transformed as part of the event. King Street between Peter and University will become TIFF's Festival Street. Organizers say it will feature an art market, free entertainment, along with food and drinks. This marks the 9th year TIFF has put on its Festival Street. The area will be open through to Sunday.
Coming up 112 years after it sank, there are new images from the wreckage of the Titanic. That story after the break.
Canada's medal count at the Paralympic Games is up to 17 after 3 more podium finishes in Paris today. Greg Stewart has won gold in shot put. The 38-year-old from Kamloops threw a distance of 16.38 meters to win the men's F46 class. The 7'2" thrower defended the title he won at Tokyo's Paralympics 3 years ago. Stewart retired after those games, but then returned because he missed the sport. And Canadian cyclist Nathan Clement has won a silver medal. The 29-year-old from West Vancouver held the second fastest time throughout the men's time trial. He is the reigning world champion in the T1-2 classification, in which athletes ride 3-wheeled bikes. Clement swam for Canada in the 2016 Paralympic Games in Rio de Janeiro before switching to cycling. Meanwhile, Canadian swimmer Nicholas Bennett is a double gold medalist. The 20-year-old from Parksville, BC, has won the men's 200-meter individual medley in Paralympic record time. Bennett also won the 100-meter breaststroke 2 days ago, and he has a silver medal in the 200-meter freestyle in Paris.
Stunning new images from the wreck of the Titanic. 112 years after it sank in the North Atlantic, the ocean is taking a toll.
It's leading to the loss and decay of some of the most recognizable features. CTV's Garrett Barry takes a deeper look.
The Titanic is central to Shelley Binder's family story. Her great-grandmother and her first son were some of the women and children rescued during that chaotic sinking.
When she got on the Carpathia, she was beside herself. She thought her baby was dead. She had just gone through this unbelievable experience.
Binder grew up hearing about the Titanic, what had happened to the ship and her ancestors. And although the wreck's collapse is inevitable, it's something altogether different to see it.
I have to say, it was kind of a little bit of a gut punch and kind of surprised me as far as my own feeling.
The team behind this latest mission released what they called bittersweet results this week. A piece of that iconic bow railing has fallen off the ship, 15 feet of it now lying on the ocean floor, below where it once stood.
The first sight that I had of Titanic.
Larry Daly photographed that railing when he visited the wreck site in 2003, and he has seen the decay, the bacteria, helping to tear the Titanic apart.
It's very sad to see it, and you know that the Titanic is sick and in poor shape now compared to when I dove it 21 years ago.
There's a race now to photograph as much of the Titanic wreck as possible before it becomes unrecognizable. But the ship itself is also now a destination for ultra-wealthy adventurers.
People whose family did die that day tend to have a different perspective and find it extremely repellent.
Binder says some of her fellow descendants of Titanic survivors and victims find it to be in poor taste that a ship that became their family graveyard could become a tourist destination. Garrett Perry, CTV News, St. John's.
We have breaking news from Ottawa, where NDP leader Jagmeet Singh's announced he's pulling his party out of the supply and confidence agreement that's helping keep Prime Minister Trudeau's minority Liberals in power. We'll have much more on this on our 6 p.m. newscast tonight.
Let's get you caught up on the weather. Before we let you go, what do we need to know? We still have another today and tomorrow of sun.
We do, and the high pressure we've been experiencing has kind of been sitting over us, which is nice. It keeps us really pleasant. It's a very stable air mass. But as we head in towards the end of the week, we're watching that low right now, prompting some active weather alerts through northern Ontario, pushing its way towards us, set to bring rain in a potentially significant amount end of the day Friday into our Saturday. So you can kind of see the leading edge of that there through northern Ontario. But for today, for tomorrow, beautiful sunshine. Still in the mid-20s right now, but we are on our way up to a very seasonal daytime high. Again, we are very warm, sunny until about Friday when that system moves in. And then after it, a little bit of a cool down, but it's short-lived. And by Monday of next week, back to where we should be.
All right. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.